Hello Kennedy artists, sorry I couldn't be here today. Today you will be working on drawing a cityscape, which is a city, in perspective. Perspective means that right now your piece of paper is flat, it is two-dimensional, and you're going to use drawing tricks or perspective to make the things you draw on it look three-dimensional, or like they actually come out of the page. So instead of just drawing a building as a rectangle, you're going to make sure each of your buildings has two planes or two sides in perspective. You'll notice that on my cityscape I've been working on, there are some details. I have helicopter, I have a satellite dish, I've added some architectural details, windows, brick, signs. It's also a starry night, and there are light poles down here on the street. You're going to spend about half of your class working on the actual perspective drawing in pencil, and the second half of your class working to add these details. I do expect that at least 4 of your buildings will have interesting details, windows, doors, signs, and different things added to them. Use your imagination. It can be a city of the future or one that exists now. Have a great day. We're going to start our perspective cityscape with our piece of paper, a pencil, and a ruler. You're going to need to choose the location for your first building, and I'm going to put my ruler up and down vertically on the page and decide what height I would like my building, and draw a straight line. I'm going to go to the top of that line, and I'm going to have a slanted line. You'll notice kind of going down like a roof on a building, going one direction to the left, and then going the other direction to the right. It's important that you use your ruler because buildings do not have wobbly edges. They have straight edges. This is going to look a little bit like an arrow at this point. Now I'm going to go to the end of my slanted line. I'm going to line up my ruler so that it is going straight vertically up and down. I'm going to start here and go down to the bottom of the page. I'm going to go to the other side and do the exact same thing. I have my first building drawn in perspective. I can see two sides of this building. To add a building behind this one, I'm going to start over here. This is going to be the center line of this building. I'm starting at the roof of the building in front of it. Decide how tall I would like it to be. I'm adding the slanted line to the left. The slanted line on the right is going to be a little bit longer. I'd like this building to be thicker or fatter. And now I'm going to add my lines going straight down vertically from the end of each of my slanted lines. Now, in a very busy city like St. Paul or Minneapolis, there's lots of buildings. I'm going to do time lapse so you see me drawing those buildings a little bit more quickly. I'm going to show you how to add windows and some other details so that they remain in perspective. I just realized I forgot this line over here. This building doesn't have its side. When I'm going to add windows, if they're on this face of the building, this plane, they need to follow this slant. If they're going to be on this plane or face, they need to follow the slant at the top there. This first one I'm going to add windows that are just rectangles or lines. So I'm following the slant of the top line and sliding my ruler down. If I want to draw lines between the windows, I need to put my ruler vertical, which is straight up and down. I'm going to do every other one here. Now I would have some erasing work to do. And you can see that I have windows in perspective. On the other side of the building, the only thing that changes is my ruler needs to follow this slant on this side of the top of the building. When I go to make the sides of the windows, my ruler is still vertical. And then I could do some erasing. And these windows are in perspective. If I'm adding a sign on the top of a building, The slant of the sign needs to follow the slant of the roof. I'm going to erase just a little bit of this line so I have space for a sign. Lining up with the slant. But the sides of the sign are straight up and down. I'm going to add 2 little posts holding the sign into the roof. And then I could add the writing on this sign. I hope you're starting to see how with different shapes and lines in perspective I can start to add character to the different buildings. I'm going to add a top to this one that kind of looks like the top of the Chrysler building. So I'm adding a rounded shape and then a small tower on top. And some windows around the edge of that. I have a sign here. I'm going to add a satellite dish off the top of this roof. So it really is your small details that are going to make this look more like a city and not just rectangles in perspective. You should be spending at least 20 to 25 minutes on the drawing part today before you would begin coloring at all. I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye. Now that you've had some time to draw, I want to talk about coloring your buildings so that you can enhance the perspective that you've already put into them. When I'm choosing to color a building, I'm going to make one plane darker, a slightly darker value, and one plane a slightly lighter value. This makes it look like this side is a little more in shadow. Whichever side you choose to put in shadow, it should be the same or consistent for all the buildings. So I've chosen the left, so you see the left side on this building is a darker value, the left side on this building is a darker value, the left side on this building is a darker value. I'm going to do time lapse again so I can do a little bit quicker job on the rest of this, but I want you to notice that I will continue with putting the darker value on the left side of the building.